news coming out of the SWAC office this past week with the introduction of what they're calling SWAC Classics. And of course, our Jackson State football team will be part of those SWAC Classics in the city of Birmingham, starting with playing UAPB and then eventually playing Southern University, I believe in 24 and 25. But, you know, our passionate fan base, uh, they really want to understand kind of the rudiments of how this came about.
Right. Well, first of all, Chuck, and Lily, I want to say this. Ashton Robinson is from Jackson, Mississippi. Ashton Robinson would never take a home Southern game away from Jackson, Mississippi. So I want to start there. People had speculations that, hey, why would you take a home game? I would, if I had a choice, I'd play all 10 or 11 at home. Especially when you're talking about a Southern and a tradition. I would never take a Southern game from Jackson State University. But what I want to explain on where we are and how we got here. Last year, the conference group, we went from 10 teams to 12 teams. We kept the 8-game schedule. We went from east to west. Everyone had a permanent on the west. With Alcorn going to the west, it was a no-brainer. There is no way that Jackson State University could not play Alcorn every single year. So Alcorn is our permanent opponent on the west. Everybody else will rotate every 2 years. What so happened is 23 and 24 is Southern time to rotate. So myself and AD Banks really start talking in the conference office. Say, hey, we really got to play this game. There's no way that we, can go 2 years without playing Southern. If anybody know anything about me and athletic directors, we're just as competitive as our coaches and our student athletes. We have that passion for our university. We want to make sure that we're doing the right things when it comes to scheduling. And scheduling can be really, really tough. People think scheduling is really easy. I try to get ahead of things and schedule out. But, of course, my deal was, hey, come on to Jackson for 2 years. We'll look at some things. And Coach and AD Banks said, come on now, no way. No way.
But you had to put it out there, Doc. You had to put it out there.
Yeah. Right. And I said, AD Banks, no way I'm coming to Baton Rouge. Ain't no way. If I got to come to Baton Rouge, I got to come to Mississippi twice. We just won't play a game. I mean, so, we both played hardball for a minute, and we talked about it. We're real good friends. But, for him, it's about Southern University, and for me, it's about Jackson State University. And we came together as one. We got the commission involved and say, hey, let's come up with a neutral site. We got to play this game. Let's come up with a neutral site, and let's try to get these 2 years in. This classic would only be for 2 years. Southern would go back to the home and home once we get back on schedule. So Birmingham came knocking at the door and said, hey, we got those dates. We want to support that. Commissioner has done a really, really good job, with the conference and changing the landscape and changing the perception of what people think about the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I mean, to me, it's one of the hottest conferences in the conference. So we came together as, all three individuals. Of course, it was Banks and A.D. Robinson call, but, we had to make sure that we played with the approval of our presidents. And that's where that classic came from. So, no, Charles and Nilly, I did not take a home game from Jackson State University. I would never take a home game from Jackson State University. But we had to find a way. I thought it was very important with the tradition of Jackson State and Southern that we had to find a way to play. I mean, the last 2 years, nobody noticed that PD was not on our schedule for 21 and they're not on our schedule for 22 because that's not a tradition. So, each team will fall off on the west side. That's the scenario. In the years that Southern falls off, we got to make sure that we get ahead of things and do our job to make sure that Southern and Jackson State play. And not only would it be a good, matchup, and I think it'll be good for Jackson State and Southern, but also good revenue for Southern, good revenue for Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson State, and good revenue to support our coaches and our student athletes in our program. No longer will we take classes that's not supportive and make sure from a revenue standpoint that it makes sense for Jackson State University. and that's part of my job, and that's part of creating revenue to make sure that we can do the things that we do every single year. I love ring ceremonies. I love championship shots and nearly, but winning costs. Winning
Yes,
really
sir.
costs.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
tell people, I continue to ask people for their support. I continue to ask people to support us. But we're 50,000 strong. And one day, Charles and Philly, we're gonna get 50-some thousand supporters that's gonna support Jackson State University. Whether it's $1, whether it's $5, whether it's $10, it's not about how much you give, it's supporting your university.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And when that day comes, I guarantee you, if people think the ups are and we're doing well now, with that revenue and with that support, that will really take our program to a whole nother level. So for me, it's all about creating revenue streams to make sure we can support our coaches, support our athletes, and make sure we put Jackson State on a platform that it would be the best experience for all our students, not just our student athletes, the best experience for our alumni and our supporters, and making sure we're doing things every single day to support and put Jackson State on the next level.
Yeah.
Chuck, one thing I'll tell you that you already know, and I tell our listening audience out there in Tiger Nation about our athletic director, is you get two worlds. Not only does he have thick skin, he has an open door policy.